Disclaimer, this video is for educational purposes only. We are not facilitating the sale of firearms. Greetings, Uverse. Welcome to Gunverse YouTube channel. Today we're talking one of my favorite cartridges. We have the Winchester Magnum Rimfire cartridge, also known as WMR. I know you might see that on ammo boxes or whatnot, but that's what it stands for. For the longest time, I didn't even know. I just looked it up recently, and that's what it stands for. Winchester Magnum Rimfire. Now, it's called Rimfire because you can see the base of the cartridge. There's a rim around the outside, so that has a propellant charge in it. So when the firing pin strikes the base of it, it ignites and sends the round out the front. So that's the difference between a rimfire cartridge and a regular cartridge with a primer. So a lot of people say rimfire cartridges are not the most reliable, and there might be something to that. So cartridges with a primer tend to go off more reliably than a rimfire charge, or cartridge rather, excuse me. So for the longest time, 22 Magnum, or WMR, was only in revolvers and long guns. That was until 2015 when a company decided to take this cartridge and make a semi-automatic pistol with it. But we're not talking about that pistol quite yet. But the PMR 30 was the very first semi-automatic pistol to run this rimfire cartridge. Nobody had ever done it before. They had some issues, but they got it refined. And the PMR 30, I've owned one for a while, and I highly enjoy it. There are some issues with the 22 Magnum though, and this rim at the end really it keeps you from loading the magazines quickly and efficiently. So the PMR 30 is great, and I love it. However, there's a new kid on the block, and that's what we're here to talk about today. Is the Smith & Wesson M&P 22 Magnum. So we're going to compare the two of them today. We're going to compare the Smith & Wesson to the OG on the block, the Kel-Tec. So I'm going to switch over to first-person view, and we're going to check out the Kel-Tec to see what the Smith & Wesson is up against, and then we're going to check out the Smith & Wesson. All right, now that I'm switched over to first-person view, I apologize if you hear some snoring. One of my dogs is sleeping. The other one is violently licking herself. So, apologize for the background noise. Alright, so, like I said, let's start off talking about the PMR 30. So, like I said, this was the original 22 Magnum semi-automatic. And, like I said, it had its trials and tribulations, but it made it through and is a fairly reliable firearm. I love these high visibility sights. There we go. They're very good. I did have a red dot on this at one point, but I didn't like the way it looked. I didn't like the way it ran, so I went back to the original sights, which do just fine. And I also shoot this left-handed, and has a very good trigger, safety, and then the party pieces. It comes with these two 30-round magazines. Now, I'm going to show you the issue with 22 Magnum. Well, at least on the PMR 30. I'm hoping the Smith & Wesson doesn't have this issue. So, 30 rounds is a lot, and you have to load these magazines absolutely perfectly. If you don't stack these rims, I'll get it nice and close for you. If you don't stack these rims either or like that, and then another one on top, um, double stacked. If you don't have those rims tightly locked to the rear, you will absolutely have problems with this. 99% of the time, when these don't run correctly, it's because of the way you loaded the magazine. So you can see how the rims are stacked either or, either or, either or. It has to, if it's anything but that, it will not work. However, after about 9 or 10 of these, it gets really hard to do, and especially if you're out in the cold when it's 10-15 degrees, you can't feel your fingers, and this becomes nearly impossible to see. It's already starting to, oh, there we go. But you got to be really, really careful. That doesn't really help, but I do it anyway. But you can see how there's hardly any room for, um, for it to move up and down. So if it's not totally stacked properly, we will have issues. Now, they do have a variety of speed loaders. This is one of them, for instance, and it works great. Don't get me wrong, it works great. However, if you're not, if you don't have access to a table, so this one, you just drop in, boom. Show you again. Drop it in that hole, boom. Now this one was kind of pricey, but hey, it works. However, if you don't have a table, it doesn't work. I tried to just go like this against my chest. I'd load one in, but it just didn't work. So, I mean, yeah, it works great, but if you don't have a bench, you can't use it. I don't know how many benches there are in the middle of the woods, but yeah. So when I do fire this, I load all my magazines up and go out in the range and shoot it. And when they're gone, I turn around and come back in. Um, that's that's the limitation to this firearm. So I'm hoping the Smith & Wesson here loads the mags easy, and I don't have that problem. So that way I can get much, because there's been so many times where I've wanted to shoot this Kel-Tec, but it was either cold out, and I'm like, nah, I don't want to mess with these magazines. I don't feel like fooling around with these magazines. And I was going to buy the CMR 30, which is the carbine uh, edition of the PMR 30, but I thought to myself, do you really want to load those magazines every 30 seconds? And I ended up going with a different Kel-Tec, but I got the R50. But yeah, these magazines totally scared me off the CMR 30. I wanted to get a CMR 30, but it totally scared me away. Okay, so these are the stock magazines. Uh, I bought this M Carbo one, which is also 30 rounds, just to see if the steel mag gives any better performance. And then this also came with a speed loader. So, it's just a lot of stuff that you got to carry around for one little gun. And then got this. I'm stretching this out right now. I've got about 20 rounds in it. Just want to get the spring broken in a little bit. So, yeah, it's a lot of accessories to have for one, for one pistol that has no red dots, just regular sights. So All right, I think that's enough about the PMR 30. I think y'all get the gist of the original. So this, like I said, this was made in 2015. This was the or 2010, excuse me. This is the original semi-automatic Winchester Magnum rimfire firing pistol. So now that we've seen that, I'm gonna put that to the side, and we're gonna check out the Smith and Wesson, and we'll see how it stacks up against the PMR 30. All right, now that the PMR 30 is away, it's time to unbox the Smith and Wesson. Now, I'm fairly familiar with Smith and Wesson M&P line. Um, I'm very familiar with the 40 cal M&P 2.0, and I've also have my eye on a Smith and Wesson M&P 5.7. So I really wanted to get this to figure out. The 5.7 looks almost exactly like it, so pretty sure if I like this, I'll like the 5.7. So without further ado, enough talk. All right. Write in the comments if you know who says that. The enough talk. All right. On first opinion, upon first, I can't talk today. I'll just say that. Kevy likey. All right. What's up? What? What happened to my? I'm missing a dot of paint. No, it's like an insert. That's weird. So the front is a fiber optic. Front sight post is a fiber optic, just like the Keltec, and the back is just a regular painted dot, but it's missing on one side. Have you guys ever had that happen to you? You see how this is the left side's filled, and then there's clearly a hole on the right side. That is awfully strange, but other than that, it looks good. Nice thin profile up top. That's why I love these 22 Magnums, because you get oh, this handle is better than the PMR. It's slightly rounded. It's not just like a 2x4 block like the PMR, but you've got this long, skinny round. So any semi-automatic 22 Magnum is going to have this long, blocky handle because of the shape of the round. It has to have room for this rounds to go up. So you're always going to have a blocky on 22 Magnum pistols, semi-automatics. You're always going to have a blocky handle, but I don't mind it personally because there's no blowback. It's just pure blast. So it's totally manageable. And then, so other than the jacked up sights, we've got a Picatinny rail up front for a flashlight. And I heard a hollow sun red dots drop right in. I have a hollow sun on my Glock. I might take it off and put it on this. This has a nice little cover. Some firearms have covers for their red dots, some don't. So this one does. I'll keep it on until I put the red dot on. If I decide to, I might shoot this with iron sights and absolutely love it. So got a safety trigger, got a safety, locks back, got a brand new gun here, brand new pistol, and then got a 23 polymer, same construction as the PMR 30 for the stock magazine. this really thin but stiff polymer, black polymer. So the Smith & Wesson holds 23 rounds. The PMR 30 obviously holds 30. So I do want to just load a few rounds in there to see if it's less annoying than the Kel-Tec to load. Because that's what keeps me from using that Kel-Tec a lot of times. Is it's like, do you really want to fumble around with those magazines out in the mud and out in the dirt and out in the snow? And a lot of times that answer is no. So it stays, where it belongs, which isn't fair, I don't think. I mean, that thing deserves to be shot. It's a fine little pistol, but it just has, these annoying rimfire cartridges. So it's no fault of the Kel-Tec. But I do admire Kel-Tec for trying, though, because this is an awesome cartridge, and yes, they do make pistols that fire the 22 WMR, but a lot of them are like short-barreled revolvers, and they make some like revolver rifle type guns and 22 Magnum. It's not the best round for long distance because it has a you have to really like, once it's zeroed in, the drop offs are quite extreme. So you got to know your drop offs. All right, so that is about 15 rounds. Put a few more in there. So far, it's easier to load than the Kel-Tec, but not like a ton. It's still kind of annoying. Yeah, it is easier, I gotta say. So if I can get this whole thing filled up with no speed loader, I would say that's a huge win. Oh, that one got it crooked, but yeah, you're just gonna make sure that the rimfire parts interlock every other, and you should be good. I mean, anything can happen. So these rimfire cartridges, I don't know, CCIs, for some reason, the 22 Magnums, I don't have problems like I do with the regular 22s. Oh, this last one. I don't know if that last one would feed. Alright, well, that's good enough now for the camera. But, alright, so that's full. So we are down 7 rounds to the PMR 30 right off the bat. So that's not looking good. But if the magazine's half as annoying to load as the PMR 30, that's a win in my opinion. So I do have a red dot I could put on it. I do have a flashlight I could put on it. I think I'll put a red dot and a flashlight on it, and let's take it out to the zero range, because especially lighter pistols, which this is very light, sometimes some weight at the end of the barrel can do you some good. So I think I'm going to put a flashlight on it and maybe a red dot, but definitely a flashlight. And then we're going to take it out to the zero range, and we're going to shoot the PMR 30 to get a baseline, and then we're going to take this out and shoot behind it and see how it comes out. So I'm going to have to put some white out in there or something. But let me know in the comments, have you guys ever had that happen where you just got shipped to you with no paint in there or something? I don't know. That's so weird. But yeah, it came with Came with 2 mags, which is nice. Little instruction manual, lock, and a flag to put in a barrel flag to put in your chamber. So I think, and then there is one more I want to touch base real quick on. So there are 3 major companies that make semi-automatic for the 22 WMR. We've got the PSA Rock, which I've already showed. I mean, excuse me, the PSA, not PSA. I'll do it in voiceover anyway. The PMR 30, excuse me, yeah, and then the Smith and Wesson M&P 22. But there is one other 22 WMR that's out on the market, and it is the Walther. I can't remember the model number, but it's made by Walther, and it has a 15 round magazine, but it kind of gets away from this. Like I said, the handles are kind of blocky on these because of the shape of the round, but the Walther kind of gets away from that in a pretty creative way. But it sacrifices volume. The Walther only carries 15 rounds, so although it does um, have better ergonomics, it doesn't carry as many rounds. So, but we don't have it, so eventually I will get the Walther, or I'll borrow one or something just so we can compare it to the PMR 30 and the Smith & Wesson at M&P 22. Thank you for joining us this evening. Stay tuned. Next time we're going to take the PMR 30 and the Smith & Wesson M&P 22 out to the 0 range, and we're going to compare the M&P 22 to the OG on the block, the PMR 30. We'll see how it compares, and uh, mostly I'd like to see how it is to reload out in the field, because if the Smith & Wesson is better than the PMR 30, I might have a new favorite plinking gun. So stay tuned for that. Next week, we've got an episode of Hand Cannons coming up. I'll give you a hint. It's its 20th anniversary. So the gun featured in our video is 20 years old. So that's the hint I'll give you guys. So stay tuned for next time. We've still got to finish up the AK-74 versus AR-15 shootout showdown. So stay tuned. We got a lot of crazy things in the works. So I'll see you next week. God bless, and see you later.